All right, 3, 2, 1, and we are live at the end of 2020.
Yes, the finals episode for this year.
Wow.
But what a great year it's been for our podcast, right? Gone from nothing to something.
Nothing to something, while the rest of the world has gone from something to complete nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you found the silver lining in
Yeah.
2020.
Well, we spoke about it like for a long period, and then just all right, Thursdays, let's do it.
Right.
Got weird over the holidays because it ended up being Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So we're just doing day ahead now.
Yeah. Yeah. We're flexible. People
We
have to
are
be flexible, you know?
And we appreciate our families for having the understanding
Exactly.
that we creep away in our man caves, put on a vlog lamp and a gaming headset, and we are off.
That's what it takes. We are lucky that the families have stayed with us through this craziness because we're just ridiculous. And this is an outlet for that ridiculousness. Sometimes there's some seriousness little in there, you know.
I think our guests will bring the most serious topics.
I think so. It's better to have some smart people come talk to us, you know, interesting backgrounds, stuff like that. I'm certainly looking forward to that. It's been great to have some comments from people just totally slamming us for, hey, you guys don't know anything about history. I like that. That was a good comment.
Magnus, Magnus is a lot like Dave in a way, our friend Dave, right?
Yeah.
Like a little rough on the edges when it comes to language, but warm heart deep down.
I was just so excited about the word defenestration that I picked the wrong war. Oops, my bad.
and it's just 300 years off, but hey,
I was close. You know,
it's the same continent.
Yeah,
see? I mean, it's got to count for something, right?
The fact that some ridiculous American would know anything that happened in Europe is a minor miracle. So, brownie points.
It's weird though that we know about all the wars that happened on your continent in the 1600s.
Yeah,
that's kind of mandatory in our curriculum.
Is it really?
Oh yeah,
in Sweden. Wars in 1600. What the hell happened in 1600?
Not that much. That's what I'm saying. It's all in there.
It's all in there. A bunch of Europeans were walking around.
Yes, but weren't there when did this Boston Tea Party happen? Is that much later? 1800 perhaps?
Yeah. Well, no, not that late, but ultimately, the things that led up to the revolution, which happened in 1776, or at least that's when we declared independence.
They've got to be late 1600, right?
Well, things start brewing. The seeds of discontent are sown early on, and then they manifest.
The tweets were tweeted way earlier.
Early tweets.
The tweets were tweeted.
Like someone saying, it's just a bunch of Europeans wandering around an empty continent. That kind of sowed some seeds of discontent because it turns out it wasn't so empty.
Why are we giving away 20% to the queen?
Well, there's that.
She's the queen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And she did what for us?
I think it was actually...
She came here. Well, did she actually go there?
Did she do anything? And I think it was a king back then. And
Elizabeth is really old.
It was really old.
Elizabeth is really old.
yeah, and then ultimately it was King George.
King George was.
And for those of you who don't know history, I say the best way to learn it is just watch Hamilton, the musical from Broadway, which is now streaming, and it's amazing. And it's also a great way. We actually do have the king, who is a character in Hamilton. So. And he's really funny, but probably not so funny back then, And ultimately,
I think back then wasn't that the part?
Do what?
But not well, it was funny, but it takes time to understand that some things are funny.
Right. But you're right, because you're a Boston guy. You're a Boston guy, so you know all about the Tea Party and Paul Revere, and you've probably spent a lot of time on that Freedom Trail, where
lived there for a year and a half, never walked the Freedom Trail. Saw the signs, sent all our friends who came to visit, you should do the Freedom Trail. And they did. And the duck tours. The duck tours are amazing.
Gotta love the ducks.
Yes. But hey, something really good just happened in the past week, right?
What happened?
Distributed.
What was distributed? I think we got frozen, which happens sometimes with the connectivity. Like he probably thinks that I'm frozen right now and can't hear anything I'm saying. And I'm looking over at Henrik and he looks frozen and he's not saying anything. For all I know, he's moving his head and talking. And now it looks like he's back. But I was probably frozen too. So that's kind of one of those paradoxical things, folks.
Yes, I'm back. That's exactly what I am.
Exactly. He's back in black, folks. So you were saying something amazing happened in the last week or so?
Yeah, we had the vaccine start to be distributed at least in Europe and the US.
Yeah.
The first Pfizer vaccines, right?
Starting to get out there.
What struck me as surprisingly surprised everyone was that, we got to figure out the logistics of people as well. Because a lot of time was spent on, all right, how do we get this -70 or whatever container to the right place? And, we've been part of some of those discussions before. But then there's another part of the receiving end.
Yes. The part where you get it
administrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to know who got it, at what date, what version of it, so he can get the second and third, depending on what version it is, 30 days or 28 days later, whatever the recommendation is.
He just said 28 days later, folks. That's what it looks like in London right now. It's just wiped out, and now it's just zombies.
Yeah.
It happened.
Do you have your zombie kit ready?
I'm ready.
But do you know what you would grab for a zombie kit? I mean, you're a Navy guy. I guess you don't have guns at home because you can't bring guns in the submarine. Because if you lose a poker game,
we did have guns. We did have guns on the submarine. We had a small arms locker, as it was called, locked up. And so normally you'd have 45s and shotguns. And so
close range weapon, I can imagine.
And so you can imagine, and we've totally gotten off the subject, but that's what we do. It's squirrel. And if all of a sudden you're right, a close aboard deal, like if the bad guys had boarded the submarine and were coming in, then you're absolutely right. You use shotguns for all this close range stuff.
And limit the damage on the boat.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Just like you would do
maximum
if you were
flesh damage.
Just like you would do if you were having a gun battle on an airplane at 30,000 feet. I always recommend using a shotgun instead of
instead of a 45, because a 45 could fucking do disasters with a window.
It would really suck. I've seen those movies where like big fat people somehow get sucked through a tiny window. It's like, it's crazy.
That could only happen on ISS, I guess.
Yes.
Like on the International Space Station.
Yeah. That's right. You're so right about that. Did you hear about the new?
Did you?
What?
Back to the zombie bag.
Yes.
Do you have a bag? Are you a prepper?
I'm not a prepper. I have friends who are preppers that have, aside from like guns and lots of ammo, they have food. Like you can go to Costco or Cabela's or some of these other places, or you can order online these freeze-dried provisions that will last a year or more. And these people are ready for end times.
So I wonder what they do with them annually, because those who I know who are preppers don't have like 3. They have like 20 for every year when they're about to, like, do they just toss them, or does it, honey, it's going to be big?
Could be. I don't know.
Don't
Freeze-dried
toss food,
stuff
guys.
lasts a long
Eat
time.
They do.
It tastes like crap. It's shit, but you'll be alive, right? Did you hear about? I think another vaccine got approved, maybe today or yesterday, like the AstraZeneca.
Yep, Swedish company, I believe.
And it's notable that it can just be in a regular refrigerator or something like that.
They were like, what are the problems? All right, okay, we're not gonna. All right, -70 seems to be like a bitch problem. Like this at normal temperatures.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it sounds like a game
And it's
changer.
also a lot cheaper.
I heard it's
but
cheaper.
It's also a lot cheaper, like a tenth
Yes.
of the price per
Yeah,
unit.
absolutely.
And if you then take away all the logistic cost of
Right.
dry ice and that,
I think it's going to be a real winner for sure. There was something else about how many days in between taking, the 2 shots.
Okay.
It was I don't know if it was longer. It was more weeks before you had to take the second one. I think they were saying after you took the first one, even if it didn't 100% take care of you, it would prevent you from having to be hospitalized if you did get COVID.
Yeah, it would reduce the symptoms, right?
Yeah. And so it bought us more time to manufacture more of those types of doses of vaccine.
But we also figured out in Sweden that you can get 6 doses out of the Pfizer. The bottles they give you, they say there are 5 doses in here. Each is 5 milliliters.
Yeah.
And it's actually so that you can get 6 doses out of that.
Okay.
If you have the right syringe and the right kind of technique.
Yeah.
Because there's always loss. But
Yes.
if you use it the right way, you reduce loss and you can get 1 extra. And that's all of a sudden 20% more.
Yeah.
Which is kind of important when you want to get the R number, whatever that means, down.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm excited about this new one. It's back to your big point about logistics. It's just like you can come up with the best vaccine, the best technology, the best whatever, and it can still not save the day because you can't deliver it to the people. Yeah, just like all you startup guys out there building your amazing new product, but as it turns out, if you can't do sales and marketing, your shiny, awesome product could literally die sitting on the shelf. And you'll be like, where did all the people come? What? You're supposed to just show up.
And around. If you have an awesome sales and marketing team and you have a shite product, you're doomed. Eventually, someone will start using the product like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Startup is a balance. It
is.
It feels a little bit like startup in the last couple of years have turned to tech. And everyone needs to be a developer to start a whatever business you want to be in.
Yeah, it does feel that way. You're right.
And they're like, we can identify the problem. If we solve the problem, we'll be millionaires.
Right.
I think they're selling themselves short in getting a good, like a proper business developer in early.
Yeah.
Who will push them. Like, no, I don't absolute perfect solution. I want something now that I can give to a customer that can start paying for. Yeah. And I know my friends at Mentimeter, shout out to Yone, they started just like that. They started selling day one. And they were lucky to get a client who started paying for the solution. And he said it might have not been the best solution today. But
yeah,
it was something they paid for, something that they saw value in, and that gave us funds to not have to go and make a Series A, B, C, whatever.
It sounds like you're talking about the whole lean startup thing and MVPs and ship right away.
I think they had that intention. They were just, they're paying, we can do this, and they're paying for that, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you read a book, it kind of becomes, it's so lean that it becomes a process in itself that you don't need.
Right.
That you kind of stumble on your own feet, making it so lean that you are actually not building anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, but shipping as fast as you can and getting somebody. Yeah. And yes, getting someone to pay is amazing. Especially if you're like, here is this tiny fraction of value that I'm going to give you today. I promise 6 months from now, it's going to be amazing. But
now I need a little bit now.
Yes, exactly.
I can give you a little bit and you give me a little bit. And then, I can make that a little bit bigger and you get me bigger. And then.
Yeah. But, it's such a good lesson for startups to learn. My background was just being an engineer and developer and all that. And I used to say probably bad things about sales guys and marketing people back then. I was like, what do they know?
Flags and balloons? Yeah, who needs them?
Yeah, it's like we're the geniuses here. We're building this technology that's going to change the world. Oh, but we're giving insane bonuses to this sales guy who doesn't know anything about anything. And I remember I used to struggle with that. But over the arc of my career, the light bulbs started getting a little bit brighter and brighter. And you realize, because I used to be a startup junkie, and yeah, I saw how startups could fail because your amazing world-changing product couldn't get sold. Our customers didn't find out about it.
But I find that interesting that it's only in sales where we have monetary bonuses, of which is common. I know some companies have it for engineers as well, but it's not that common that, well, okay, your team finished all the sprints, you had no defect, you did everything you said you would do, you increased the speed continuously, and you got no bonus.
And you got no bonus.
Why?
I know.
Why?
It's awful.
Kind of like with all the lean development that we do now and agile, we measure everything, right?
Yeah.
And if we measure everything and we believe in that, we should give them bonuses for accomplishing the task that they're given and they deliver upon every time, right?
Yeah.
That being said, I don't want developers who stand by, oh, that's going to be 6 weeks, and then they do it in 2 weeks.
Right.
I want them to be ambitious.
Yeah.
I want them to be quota crushers, like we call them in sales, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you give me 2 million in sales as a quota? Sure, I'll deliver 6. Is that okay? Do I get more? Yeah, you get more. All right, cool.
Yeah. No, it's good. Because you're right. Those engineers are sitting there at their desk in their cubicle, and they look out the window and they see the sales guy in his brand new BMW pull up, and they're like, I invented this thing. Who the hell is this guy? And so you're right. There's that kind of, doesn't feel fair to engineering a lot of times.
But sometimes I also know sales, like in startups, sometimes the engineers are the founders and they get founding shares and they get or kind of perks. But I do believe if we want to diversify the people in tech, we are developed who are driven by monetary incentives should be able to get that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
And I guess that's why a lot of the tech guys are starting companies like, I'm going to be a gazillionaire.
Right.
I'm the tech guy and I own 100%. Like, I have no revenue. Like, where do I get money? Oh, Series A, B, Z. Like, oh, I own nothing.
Oh, I got diluted.
That's a word you didn't know in Computer Science 101 that you needed to keep track of. Like, what's dilution? What's,
yes,
A shares, B shares? What are these different things? Like,
what the hell is a cap table? What is all that shit? And what happened
to matter?
And what happened to poor Eduardo in the social network when he came in there and they said, and you've been diluted to 0.06 whatever percent. Sorry. Yeah, that kind of pisses people.
0.06 of Facebook's current value would be a decent payout.
Well, it sounds like he got his money, as we all learned, and I think he moved to Singapore. What are you going to do? Yes. And the Winklevoss twins, the Winklevi, they got their payday too. And then they decided to corner the Bitcoin market.
And that turned out well.
It did. Yeah. Because, they got a lot of money in that settlement when they sued Zuckerberg. And then they actually were at the right time when that first giant wave of Bitcoin. And so, it actually absolutely paid off for them. So.
That's a very interesting monetary system. I'm cautious about it. That's what I say. If the big trades being done in Bitcoins are, things that want to stay away from the society, like drugs and guns and ammos and stuff like that on the black market.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to make money on that instrument.
That being said, I I'm sure people feel like they missed the boat. And,
oh yeah,
you know, because I actually do know a person personally who I worked with at a company, and in the background, he was a Bitcoin miner from early on, and he had computers all over the place mining Bitcoins. And he was one of the early guys, and he just kind of quietly did it. He was an engineer. And anyway, long story short, one day, you know how like sometimes you work at a company a long time and maybe it's your last day and they have a big little party, maybe some cake and stuff like that, and everybody claps and says goodbye and all that. Well, we had one of those for him, and I was like, I didn't know why. Or is he retiring, or why? Where's he going? He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm done. I'm going to quit working. And I'm like, what? And he goes, well, yeah, I've made like $40 million in Bitcoin. And after a while, I was like, why the hell do I keep coming into the office? And I'm like, holy shit. So like some guy who's just down the hall from me has got 40 million and he's just killing it.
But I had a guy, he was mining Bitcoins in his dorm room. Because, you know, the only cost you have is utility.
Yeah.
But in your dorm, are paid for.
Yeah.
You know, if you have one computer or 10, it doesn't really matter. And this must have been, what, 2005? I'm
trying to remember.
That's
when
pretty
all that
early.
came out. Yeah. I just, man, you know, it's all about energy and servers. And I certainly, the state of Washington has a lot of rivers and lots of dams, hydropower. And all of a sudden you'd see these little small towns, people who weren't from there were all of a sudden sucking energy from cheap hydropower. And it turns out it's a massive Bitcoining mining operation, not in data centers, just servers wherever in every empty building with a power socket that we could find and a network connection, you know?
We had a Swedish company who they were actually like building a proper hall, because we have, like, in addition to cheap hydropower, we have something that you don't have. We have natural cooling. You just kind of open the doors and it's freezing out.
Yeah.
So you don't have to spend energy on cooling it, right?
Yeah, good point.
And they built, I can't remember if they built a big ass hall and they're like, all right, we're gonna mine, we're gonna be like the premier mining center in Sweden. And then someone was like, that doesn't seem to be a sustainable business you're doing. What if we increase, you look like a data center, you're not a mining facility. You should pay this tax on energy. Like, oh, no. Like their whole business case was shut to sank.
Yeah.
All of a sudden their energy costs like, bonk. Like, you're taking that cheap one that everyone who has green energy is supposed to get, but you're actually making us use coal. And that, well, no, you get to pay extra. And they had to pay extra, and all of a sudden they were bankrupt. And they all had all these mining servers already, you know.
Wow.
But they flipped it over and they became a data center.
Okay.
Because they had a lot of compute, like a serious amount of compute.
Yeah.
They were like, all right, we can't do this. What do we do? What else can we compute? Like, cloud happened at the same time. They're like, hey, we have a cloud. No, we have a big ass data center. Sure, call it that, but it's a cloud. So they flipped it, didn't mind, but they computed, and all of a sudden, it's all good. I wouldn't say they were making a killing, but
yeah. Well,
and the other fun story about the Bitcoin guys was, remember when Bitcoin just crashed? This is just like 2 years ago or so.
Yeah.
At that very day, there was a huge party, like a big cruise called a Bitcoin cruise, somewhere in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And they were all Bitcoin millionaires and billionaires, right? And when they came back, they were broke because they were out on open sea and they couldn't, you know, access their wallets. And they came back like, what do you mean it's not $20,000?
What?
500. There's no. There's got to be some kind of government who's controlling this, right? We should make a complaint. No, that's the whole thing, right? There's no government controlling.
There is no government. There are no banks.
There's no secret society mastering the puppets.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's an expensive cruise. Talk about missing the boat.
That sounds like a really expensive cruise. Oh my gosh. So you know what? Let me see here. I'm looking around in my, I'm writing a blog post right now. You know, like those end of the year kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, kind of like looking back at 2020. It's a work in progress, but it'll have it out by tomorrow, whatever. But I was just thinking about, everybody's talking, there's a million topics and stuff like that. I was just kind of thinking of digital resiliency. And I think we've talked about it before, what are the things that kind of held the planet together? And it was the internet, it was wireless connectivity, it was digital over wireless connectivity.
But what wasn't this made video being the default? Like when I have my one-on-ones in the past, I call people. Now I do FaceTime, I do Zoom, I do team meetings. I turn on the video.
Yeah.
Like we all have videos on our computers today, so there's no reason why you wouldn't.
Absolutely. And so like
2019, that wasn't true.
Yeah. My highlighted bullets here as I'm writing, the internet is first. The internet is the backbone of the whole thing, and it's held together, which has been great, under unprecedented stress. But then it's cellular connectivity, all those little things popping up off the internet that keep us all together. It's how people live, right? Having that wireless connectivity held people together. And then you're right, the web conferencing, whether it's Zoom or Teams or Skype or a million other meets, whatever. You're right. That changed everything.
BlueJeans was snagged up by Verizon, right?
Yes. Yep. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Actually, I knew the people who helped get BlueJeans in position to sell, because I worked with them. They were the same leadership team that ran Pentaho, which is a kind of a BI ETL tool that was part of Hitachi, where I worked, that we connected to Lumada. So same group left Pentaho, went into BlueJeans and got them sold. So yay, you guys. E-commerce. It kind of the takeaway is a lot of this stuff, it's old things that you just took for granted, that maybe they've been here for a long time, but you just never felt the urgency, and now they were more important than ever. Delivery.
Some people did e-commerce in the past.
Yeah.
But still, a lot of people like, well, I want to go shopping.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, e-commerce turns out to be freaking awesome.
Right. Right. Yeah, because you're right. We had this stuff all along, but now it was never more critical. And then kind of going together with, you're right. I used to go to the store, I'd go to the mall. Now I'm doing e-commerce, and then delivery, DoorDash, Uber Eats, Postmates, there's so many of them.
So we got an interesting version of that. We got something called Instabox in Sweden.
Okay.
So it's like big steel boxes, like 60 boxes in one big box.
Yeah.
Where you can order stuff and you get it delivered within, same day delivery to the Instabox, and you get a PIN code to your phone.
Yeah.
And you go pick it up. So
that's cool.
It's pretty cool. And they now do returns as well, which is super convenient.
That's
super. You get a sticker, you slap on the sticker, you scan it at the door. There's a PIN code, there's a barcode reader. You press your PIN code, scan it in the box, shut it, returned. Money back instantly, because they know it's in the possession of the receiver.
Yeah. Yeah. We talked about streaming entertainment, Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus.
They talked about a streaming war. It felt like the 2020 people stopped talking about the war. I just get more. We need more. Like I've seen all on Netflix. Really, get another one, but don't cancel Netflix. Get another one, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. HBO Max. There's so many, and so
but that's only in the US though.
Okay.
Because I was looking forward to it, but it's still. I still think they've sold a lot of the titles that's on HBO Max has already been sold to our cinemas.
Yeah.
And just being held.
Right.
Waiting to be released.
Yeah. A term I had never heard before, but It's called ghost kitchens.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so there were
We have ghost
previously maybe
kitchens and ghost stores.
yeah. You know, we've had to see how so many restaurants who maybe weren't ghost kitchens, but they became ghost kitchens. And so it's like, well, there's no waiters or people working in the front of the house, but in the back of the house here in the kitchen where we're cooking, we're going full speed ahead and we're doing takeout and delivery. And so we saw that go up. The Internet of Things, kind of following that theme of remotely controlling, remotely knowing about something, which falls in line with all the rest of these are all kind of consumers and people, but the same ideas.
How has digital healthcare happened? Like in the US, do you have digital healthcare for everyone?
It's a mixed bag. You know how it is in America. Did you say the words for everyone?
I'm sorry. General available to the rich people? Yes.
There you go.
Those who need it? No.
There you go. Thank you for that. Thanks for clarifying to the audience.
This is Sweden. We have multiple apps. I can use anyone I want. They're all fighting to get me to use their app because they get paid in the back end.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's kind of, but that's not always good because they're also hogging all the easy cases.
Okay.
Because they get a fixed fee for every patient they treat, right?
Oh.
And they send all those who are, all those they can't fix remotely, they send to the actual doctors, the kind of, the local facilities are still there.
Yeah.
And they get the same dollars, but they have real estate, they have actual patients, they have longer lead times between, and they get the more complicated patients, right? Because everyone who's got a running nose, all right, you get this, pick it up at the pharmacy, you're good. Next. All right, cough for me twice. Okay, not COVID. Next.
Wow.
And then, well, you see the COVID, you can go to the actual doctor, right?
That's
not
interesting.
Perfect, but better. Because it forces the hospitals, who are typically super manual, to digitalize faster. Like, but what if we could offer that as well?
Right.
Because I have friends who are doctors, they double dip. They work in hospitals because they want their surgery time, but they can't do ER work all the time because they get worn out.
Yeah. Right.
So they do 6 weeks of that, and then they go 6 weeks and sit in a desk and they see patient remotely.
Yeah.
And then they go back and do 4 weeks of ER or 4 weeks in the surgery hall, and they do only surgeries, right? And then so it's kind of fluidity of the work, like a gig economy for doctors.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that happened big time in Sweden, a lot bigger.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Obviously, we all been I don't want to say all, but many have been working remotely, and that's facilitated again by some of these other things that we're doing right now. And because of working remotely, we've seen the trend. I can't speak for Sweden, but we've seen the trend in the US for sure of people leaving expensive cities and moving to lower cost areas. And so you see the people leaving Silicon Valley to go somewhere else.
Kansas.
We're going to Kansas.
Well, and I think that's healthy to some extent. I think there's something about the office. I still miss office and meeting my coworkers.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
We're going to see a new way for workplaces to stay connected. I think companies have to figure out, how do we do after works remotely? How do we get people to get to know each other outside of work when people aren't in the same office?
Yeah.
How do we get that feeling elsewhere?
Right.
And I think for a lot of companies, I think Silicon Valley is horribly expensive.
Yeah.
And any talent you have will be sucked up by a cooler company. If you're not Apple, you're not Google, you're not Facebook, if you're not the top three and you're not a startup, which is funded by one of those from that, whatever that row of houses where all them live, right?
All the VCs on Sand Hill Road.
Exactly. Sand Hill Road was what I was looking for. If you're not funded by them or one of the big fives, all your tech talent is going to leave Silicon Valley, And everyone you're going to get that moves to Silicon Valley is going to be firstly underpaid and then pay higher rent, and then they're going to be miserable and either, defect or get a cooler job somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like what we had with the big outsourcing centers, right? When you was that, well, it's so cheap in India, right? And then they stayed for 6 months, and then they went to competitors and said, I worked for your competitor for 6 months. I'm not worth $16 an hour. I'm worth $30 an hour. And they go, oh, you are? You bet you are. And then 6 months later, they come back again like, so I've now been with your competitor. I'm not worth $30. What? I'm worth $45. What? No, I'm selling, like, your rate is 24.
Yeah.
But senior now. No, you're not senior after 2 times 6 month experience.
Right. Yes,
But
I love how junior people somehow magically become senior people really fast these days, or they at least try to sell themselves as being a senior person. It's pretty funny.
And we should spend a whole episode talking about seniority.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind people who have the confidence to say, well, no, actually, you are wrong. Like, you worked for very long in this industry, but I believe in what I do, and what I do is right. And like, because I grew up with APIs and kind of REST. You old fuck, you learned it.
Yeah.
I'm native. You're not.
Right. Right.
At some point, seniority in technology means,
gotta keep learning all the time.
I was going to say, you got to be a very quick learner and an eager learner if you want to be, 55 and bleeding edge on the latest technology.
Yeah.
And then you should be super senior, right?
That's why I just take those. I just take those limitless pills that Bradley Cooper had in that movie. That keeps me going.
Would that give you the ability to sing also? Didn't he sing with Lady Gaga in another movie?
Yes, he did. And it worked. You're right. A Star is Born. He did. I thought he did a great job.
He had a very good voice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really liked that movie. That was a good one. And I liked the voice he just had talking.
So did you have anything else on your, 2020, what happened 2020?
I think that's all I have. Internet, web conferences, e-commerce, delivery, Internet of Things, ghost kitchen, streaming entertainment. We got healthcare, remote working, moving to cheaper places. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there's many more. I wonder which ones will stick. Going into the future, will some of these things hang on?
In Stockholm, we saw a trend of people moving to bigger houses.
Yes.
Like, if you lived in an apartment and you had one kid and you're like, we can stay here until we get our second kid, but we eventually want to move to a suburb.
Yeah.
We could see how people moved earlier to the suburbs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for me already in the suburb, because prices of our house just,
Right.
That's, my mortgage rate went down. That's good.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it will stay.
I don't know. It's interesting because there had been an opposite trend prior to this.
Yes.
Everybody wanted to live in some cool, hip, high rise in the city, downtown, and where all the bars and clubs and.
But I think this working from home, you realize, all right, we need an office.
Yeah.
And I need a den. Like, we have a good setup with 2 desks, 2 monitors in each desk, and we're good, right?
Yeah.
But we have that because we have a big house.
That's right.
If we lived downtown, we wouldn't have that. It would be the kitchen table.
That's right.
And working from home would be a nightmare.
Absolutely. And then, all aside from COVID and all those things, a lot of U.S. cities, downtowns, well, they're ghost towns. And they have been. They've been shut down. And we had lots of riots and other things happen, and lots of destroyed buildings and offices and businesses vandalized. And it's been a shit year.
I felt that was on the brink of happening anyways. the COVID shutdowns and the recommendations, they were only the the straw that made the camel back break, or whatever the saying is in English. I think those riots could have happened for just about any reason.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I mean, if Canadians were the friendliest people on earth, if they riot because Montreal Canadiens does not win Stanley Cup, and they riot because they win the Stanley Cup, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
You got to make sure you at least set a few cars on fire downtown and stuff like that. You got to flip
them over.
You got to turn.
I also
them over.
like
but there's some, certainly, you're right. The beginning with George Floyd being killed by the cop and all that stuff, and then we had all the riots that started around that, and businesses being destroyed. We had the autonomous zone in Seattle that was kind of like Christiania for a while. A lot of people,
worse.
You had ideas around defunding the police in cities. And I just read something recently, because there's that kind of talk in the Seattle City Council as well. And let's get rid of the cops and all that kind of talk. And a lot of the police are not waiting to be let go or fired.
Defunded, no.
They're not waiting.
No,
I've heard
your retirement fund would be shunted, right?
I've heard that the city of Seattle is now on track. We only got a day left to go of losing 200 police officers that have just left. They saw the writing on the wall and they're like, I'm out of here.
But even if they would be refunded, they've lost already.
Yeah.
That experience is lost, right?
Yeah. Well, they've lost trust.
But how would that work? If a city, the police is managed by the city, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's politicians, the mayor, the city council. They're in charge of the police.
The county has a sheriff?
Yes.
But would the sheriff be allowed to go into city perimeters?
Yeah, it kind of, it's a little fluid.
So if Seattle would defund the police, they get rid of it. It wouldn't be lawless, right?
Well, it's a little bit more lawless than it was.
Well, yes, but I mean, there are other law enforcement overlapping.
You're right, because there's a county that's surrounding the city that has sheriff. You're right. But it's a tough situation, and this has happened to several cities. And so you have businesses, you have people who say, I'm leaving the city, it's not safe. You no longer have enough police to ensure the safety of the people, which is a sad statement on just humanity, that there's so many bad people that think that, crime and violence and destruction is okay. And that we need lots of police to make sure that we're not all attacked in our homes. That's kind of a sad statement, I suppose.
So we have challenges in Sweden as well, right? It's not all fussy and great, right? We have a lot of gang violence that is creeping up on us. And I don't think that's only solved by adding funding to the police. Because if 8-year-olds are lured into the net of gang violence, you got to start earlier, and you don't start with the police there. You got to start with, childcare. You got to have, better schools, better activities outside of schools, better support system, giving the kids the attention that they need that they might not get from home or from school or whatever, right? Maybe have not everyone is catered to sit still, 4 hours. Maybe they need a different way of learning, right? Different way of getting through the education system. And by the way, different way of learning. My friend Ronnie, he gave us feedback as well. Like, you sat down for 75 minutes and we're talking. Oh, shame on you. So I'm going to make ourselves a pair of dices, and we're going to roll it. Every 50 minutes we roll it, and one of us has to do either jumping jacks, lunges, or squats.
I thought you were going to say we have to do a shot of tequila.
Yes. That'd be a Friday podcast, right?
Okay. Okay. That's cool.
So what's your plans for tomorrow?
My plans for tomorrow, I have no idea.
No idea, no plans?
I can't think of any at the moment. That sounds pretty bad, doesn't it? Okay, so tomorrow is New Year's Eve, right?
Yes.
So we probably will not have a giant New Year's Eve party like we've had in the past.
Good idea.
It'll probably be lame and smaller, or I don't know what. You know, we have a nice deck outside in the backyard, covered in the forest behind us, and it's covered, and we've got fire pits and those gas heaters, so we can be outside and have people, you know, kind of be outside. It's also my daughter's birthday, also New Year's Eve. Which has always been a good news, bad news thing, because she feels like it's my birthday and I'm being overshadowed by all these big New Year's Eve celebrations. So,
but then she turns 21 on a big party day.
Good point. Good point. Yep, that's a good point. You're right. So, we'll have.
I mean, good for her, bad for you.
Yeah, so we'll have that going on, and then, yes, you know, yeah, it sounds pretty lame. Are you doing anything exciting on New Year's Eve?
Well, I packed a car tonight. We're heading up north to a ski resort. So we'll be there in our cabin, secluded.
Yeah.
You know,
that sounds great.
Only the family. Kids will be out in ski school an hour a day for the full week. So, yeah.
You know what? Normally this time of year, we would be doing the exact same thing. We'd love to go drive up north to British Columbia, to Whistler, to Big White, all these lots of. You know.
How far is it to Whistler from you?
Let's see. I'd say about 5 hours. It's about 3 hours from Seattle to Vancouver, and then I don't know, an hour and a half or so north of Vancouver to drive up into Whistler. Whistler is like heaven on earth. I love that place.
Well, all right, gotta go there. I gotta come visit you. We've got to do wine tasting and Whistler.
Absolutely. Whistler's amazing.
One does not rule out the other.
That's right. And the Whistler Village is massive, and it's so much fun. There's so many things to do, and lots of bars and great restaurants. So we love being there. We love being there in the summertime too. It's great to be in the summer.
Good in summer as well?
Oh yeah, it's great. You know, you go hiking up in the mountains, and yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we're definitely missing the fact that the border with Canada is closed, because the Canadians probably don't want all the ugly Americans to infect them. So I get it. They
built the wall faster than you did.
They did. They're like, oh shit, we need a wall really fast to keep out the Americans. Surprise, irony. Oh my gosh. So wow.
Well, tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. we're starting, and it's a 7.5 hour drive, I guess, depending on the road conditions.
Are you going to be like inside the Arctic Circle?
No, that's the scary part. There's still some way to go.
Shit.
Like, I think we're turning off when we come to Sundsvall. We're turning left into, and that Sundsvall, to anyone from my city, that's like far up north.
Yeah.
But statistically, and actually, it's the midpoint of Sweden.
Wow.
So Sweden goes a lot, and in May, I have a ski trip booked in May where I'm going to 3 Point, where Sweden, Norway, and Finland are intersecting.
Okay.
Where we have a probably the best ski resort in Sweden. Looking forward to it, but that's way up north, and the sun will be up from I think it's 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay.
In May.
Yeah.
And they have during midsummer you can go skiing in the middle of the night because
it's cool.
Sun is up. You can go skiing in bikini if you want to. You look great in bikini.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Gotta have that.
That's
great.
my plan.
I like that plan. Everything's gonna be fixed by then. We're all gonna be just fine.
I think we'll be on a better routes too.
Yeah, I think so. I think
it's gonna have a hope at least.
Yes. Yes. Well,
all right, let's
I
end
don't
on
want.
that. Let's have
Yeah.
hope.
Let's have hope. A new hope.
A new hope. Such a good line.
Yes.
And Happy New Year to you. It's been a great time starting this podcast, and I'm looking forward to another 60 episodes next year.
Woo! That's a lot. Yes, it's been great. I'm glad we're doing this. Yeah. Happy New Year to you. It's going to be fun. We'll have fun up in Finland.
I'm not going to Finland. That's it. I'm just going north in Sweden.
Okay. All right. All right.
Just because the earth is bending. You know the earth is round, right? You're not a flat earther, right?
What?
No. So it's bending, right? And that's why Finland creeps up and Norway and Russia's all there.
Yes. I get you.
You know that's how a lot of Syrians came to Sweden.
No.
With bikes. So the Syrians could fly with no visa to Russia.
Okay.
So they flew to the north of Russia, where there were bus trips organized to the Finnish border, where Finnish people helped them with bikes so they could bike into Sweden. Because if you come by, we don't have a border protection requirement. It's only if you come in an organized trip. So they had bikes. I think you took a bus to, a kilometer from the border in Finland. You got off, you got a bike, and you took the bike over. The bus went alone and picked up the bikes and went back. And then you were in Sweden, and you need no visa, nothing. Amazing. Creative people should be allowed to stay. I think that's amazing.
There you go, folks.
Walk over the border.
Walk over the border.
How hard can it be?
Maybe I'm going to walk over the border into Canada and go skiing.
Carry those skis, and maybe that, the police would let you go.
Yes, those, the Mounties. Yes.
The Mounties. Is that
the Canadian Mounties with their hats, and the, watching out for the moose. Well,
all right.
I'm going to go get my maple syrup and go skiing in Canada illegally by walking, and we'll see you in 2021.
Sounds like a good show. All right.
Excellent. Adios.
Adios.